and welcome to the 2017-2018 Asian Le Mans Series. I am Nadia Nash, and to all you motorsport fans, well, specifically car endurance racing fans, I'm sure you're catching us live on Facebook at facebook.com/AsianLMS, or if you're on the official website, it's www.asianlemanseries.com. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, from the sunny weather in Zhuhai, we're greeted by a little bit of colder weather here in Fuji International Circuit in Japan for round 2. Well, I must say a colder round 2, but only in temperatures because, as you can hear and as you can see around me, things are heating up. I am reporting from the pit lanes, and behind me, the teams and the drivers are just gearing up for the qualifying session that's about to take place in just a couple of minutes. Now, as usual, 2 sessions to be done today. First up is the LMP2, LMP3 qualifying session, followed by the GT class. Now, I am not alone because I am with my trusty companions. Jeevan Selvanathan and Graham Goodwin are up in the commentary box. So they are the ones with the details and the stats, and I'm sure you gentlemen can tell me a bit more of a background on the series, the season, and this beautiful circuit that we are on. Guys?
Thank you very much, Nadia. Yes, we can tell you absolutely everything about the Asian Le Mans Series. This is round 2 of the 2017-2018 series, and it's the 4 hours of Fuji that'll be happening tomorrow. My name is Jeevan Selvanathan. Sitting next to me, as Nadia said, in the commentary box is the editor-in-chief of dailysportscar.com and one of the most familiar voices and faces around the Le Mans circuit. Well, Graham, you can't be looking like that. Graham, how are you doing today?
I'm lucky if you're familiar with this face, but good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everybody, wherever you are in the world. It is pretty cold here at Fuji International Speedway. Fabulous historic site for motorsports, some amazing racing down through the years here, but this is, you know, another chapter in endurance racing down there at the main hairpin down at turns 5 and 6. This part of the staircase of talent for endurance racing globally, and Asian Le Mans Series contributing hugely to the rebirth, if you like, of the Asian side of endurance racing. There is the fabulous drag strip that is, Jeevan, the start-finish straight here, 1.4 kilometres long.
That's right, the entire length of the circuit, 4.469 kilometres, 16 turns, 6 lefts, 10 rights, and once again, Sector 1, very fast, Sector 2, pretty fast too, and Sector 3 is where it gets a bit tricky.
It does. 3 very different sectors here, as described by driver after driver every time we've been here. That tricky turn 1, downhill and off camber, will catch people out in these cold conditions for sure, and after that it's pedal to the metal down through turns 2, 3, 4, 5, tight turns 6 and 7, then a rapid run down to the twiddly diddly bits of this, as they've been described to me time and time again, through 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, and then Panasonic onto the main start finish straight to complete the lap.
And of course, this is the second of 4 rounds for the Asian Le Mans Series. The next one will be in January in Buriram, Thailand. That's going to be another testing circuit, and of course Sepang as well for the finale in February. But each of these tracks have been picked to test each of these 3 classes, the LMP2s, LMP3s and GTs. And Fuji itself, as you said, well, it's been around for about 40 years now, and it has really shown in every championship that has taken place here, each of the races has come back and said that it is one of the most wonderful circuits to ride on. But when you watch it, if we just saw the track map, when you see these shots here, it doesn't really take into account, well, you see it here off turn 1, a bit of the decline, but really the elevation of this track is where the challenge sits.
Well, 2 things, elevation and weather, and the cold weather is going to be a factor here, getting the heat and keeping the heat into the tyres. That's going to be a tricky one. Let's take a lap round this Fuji International Speedway aboard the TKS Ginetta LMP3 team rejoining the Asian Le Mans Series here. This is start-finish straight, coming down to what we've been saying is that tricky turn 1. Really difficult to get the braking right here, get the braking done and turning in to try to hit that apex. Curving down on yourself, it's almost a corkscrew there. You can see off camber down towards turn 2. Quick through there, hard on the power, and down towards turns 3 and 4. Flows pretty well here through 3 and 4. After this, it starts to get very technical indeed. And through 5, and then ahead you'll see turn 6, sharp left-hand turn, almost a hairpin bend here. And again, somewhere you'll see some overtaking and potentially some contact if things get a little bit too cosy. Through turns 5, 6 and 7 as the Win Racing car goes by the Ginetta. Through 300R, 300 degree right-hand turn. And into turns 10, 11, 12. Rapid fire sequence here. No chance of overtaking. These cars pretty well matched on pace. Takes the curb. That's one of the places Eduardo Freitas was telling the guys about track limits. We'll keep an eye on that. 13, 14, and into turn 15, known as nets. And ahead of us, we'll see turn 16. It's a sharp hairpin right, known worldwide as Panasonic curve. And this will fire the cars onto that main start-finish straight, the 1.4 kilometre drag strip that defines this circuit. That is a rapid-fire lap of Fuji International Speedway.
Fantastic stuff, Graham, and that really is, just from that point of view, you really get a good understanding of exactly what this track is about. Now, as we said, 3 classes, LMP2, LMP3, and GT as well. We'll be getting into those classes in just a second, but right now we're getting down to the pits where Nadia has Sean Thong from the Taiwan Beer GH Motorsport team.
Yes, Sean Tong is with me. So as I understand, you will not be driving later for qualifying. It's going to be the driver.
Yeah, so this time Leo will qualify the car because he's the only driver in our team to have the new tire experience. Because in the paid practice, there's some problems with our car, and I actually missed my new tire run. So our engineer decided it's a better choice to let Leo to do the qualifying because he's more familiar with the track, and also he's the only driver who got the new tire experience this weekend.
All right, new tire. Now, talking about tires and all that, I'm sure this cold weather is a big factor, but maybe from a driver's perspective, you can tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, it makes a big difference because it's much colder than last year in Fuji as well, so it's actually a challenge to get the tires working properly now. Even with the tire warmers we have, it's still quite difficult to get the tires up to the working temperature. So in the out lap or even the first few laps, it's very challenging. And I think the key in qualifying is basically who gets the tires up to temperature the soonest and who will be on top of the time. So we are still trying to work around it because we got limited run time over the weekend due to various issues. But the team did a really great job, and we fixed all the problems now.
Well, that's good to know. And just one last quick one, because we know in Zhuhai it's sunny weather and all that. The tire warmers were not allowed, but only in Fuji it's allowed. So.
Yeah, because of the cold weather, it's allowed. But I think it's essential. So all teams got, and it's must equipment. Otherwise, we are not able to race because on the out lap, especially in the race, like in the out lap, if we haven't got the tire warmers, we're going to lose a lot of times, like more than 10 seconds. So the tire warmer and getting the tires into the right working temperature, it will be the key in the race as well. So yeah, let's see how we use the tire warmer and hope they work well.
Yeah, sure. All the best to the team, and back to Jeevan.
It's going to be Graham at this point, and what Sean was actually saying there, absolutely right. One of the key things here, Jeevan, is going to be getting the heat into the tyres and keeping it there.
Yeah.
And they've not been allowed to this point to actually have those tyre ovens that get that deep heat into these Michelin tyres. That's going to make the early part of any session on track really very tricky. You're going to start to see lockups into turn 1. You're going to start to see the cars hopping around a bit on the extremes of grip. They're going to be trying to find that grip on their warming up laps ahead of a quick run in what's a very short 15-minute qualifying session for each of these classes. So Sean, bang on the money there, and the LMP3 cars in particular with a little less aero, therefore a little less aero grip to push the cars down into this track surface, if you like. It's going to be about mechanical grip, and they're going to have precious little of that with cold tyres.
Exactly, and I think one of the key things you said there was exactly this short window, 15 minutes qualifying for LMP2 and LMP3. That'll be followed by 15 minutes for GT, and in that time, looking at it realistically, you've got about 3 or 4 laps to get your top time in, because as you said, the tires, these Michelin compounds are fantastic. They've worked so well, but in these cold pressures, it's a general racing term that you need to have these things warm.
Absolutely right, and Michelin partners of the Asia Le Mans Series. with Total, who announced just last week that they've been with the Asia Le Mans Series since the very start. That arrangement is now extended to all ACO Series worldwide, including the Le Mans 24 Hours. We look at the number 1 car. This is the Win Motorsport Ligier LMP3 car, reigning Asia Le Mans Sprint Cup champions.
And of course, second in their class as well in the opening round in Zhuhai, and also a 4th place for Taiwan via GH Motorsport. So both these teams are going to be looking to up the ante for race day tomorrow. And of course, a lot is expected from Win Motorsport, not only because of that Asian Le Mans Sprint Cup win of theirs in July, but also because they are a very strong team indeed.
Absolutely, and that is the marker, I think, for the Asia Le Mans grid this season. It's quality, and you're going to be seeing some very familiar faces and very familiar names in the on the timing and scoring screens and on the screens and the graphics when you see the cars getting underway. So, one of those familiar names is the Win Motorsport team principal. And down in pit lane at the moment, we're going to go to the Asia Le Mans Sprint Cup Drivers' Champion, team principal, team owner of Win Motorsport. William Locke is down in pit lane right now.
Yes, I am at the garage of Win Motorsport with William Locke, and as you told me just now, Richard Bradley is in the car getting ready. So how has the preparations been going on for qualifying?
The preparation it's quite okay. I mean, we had a good session on Friday morning, but unfortunately, practice 2 yesterday was caught in an accident, so we lose a whole session there as well again, which, you know, we had that in Zhuhai already. So, but everything looks pretty good, and the team do a great job repairing, putting everything back together. We do quite a lot of setup changes, tweaks here and there a little bit. So I think we found the good setup for the race. In terms of qualifying, I think our car may not be the quickest because we're not really doing a different setting on qualifying. So we basically have a race setup to see the race pace more than just looking at that qualifying session. So I mean, again, it's a 4-hour race, so that's what we're focusing on right now.
So already eyes on the race for tomorrow, and we can't not talk about the weather. As compared to Zhuhai, it was hot and sunny, and now it's just cold. How big of a difference is that in terms for the cars and the drivers?
Oh well, it's hard. I mean, all the teams here, we need the tire oven, tire blankets, everything. I mean, it's really hard to bring these tires into temperature in such a cold weather. I mean, even though it's not snowing or anything, but even just a pit stop with the car in the ground and all the cold from the cement, it's massive. So every time we change the driver going out for session, it's like warm up all over again, and it's pretty hard. So the way it is we're trying to push it quick, trying to get temperature as soon as possible and then get a good run out of it.
All the best for the lap later, and it's back to the commentary box, guys. It's a lot of talk about the cold weather.
Thanks for that, Nadia. And once again, Graham, just echoing what we were saying about tyres, William Locke just outlining exactly that his strategy is going to be for race day and not specifically. Obviously, they'd love to get pole position in qualifying now, but not expecting it. They've had a couple of run-outs. What William was talking about there was, of course, the pickup of the tyres. When you go around and the tyres get hotter and they pick up cold residue from the track.
It's just simply that it's so difficult to get the warmth into the tyres that they need to unlock the potential for those for the rubber compound. By the way, just goes to show the level of preparation at Win Motorsport. They've chosen this race to unveil their team gear, which is a full-length winter's coat. Good move, William. That's the BBT car, the Ligier, the 37 car. I'm sure that will be Pipo Derani. Leaves for go to the end of pit lane. We'll be getting underway in just a few minutes' time for qualifying. And then we'll see some of these big name drivers. Richard Bradley, remember, a Le Mans winner in LMP2, driving this time in LMP3. Here comes the Jackie Chan DC Racing 8 and 7 car in that order. The white nose car number 8, the black nose car is number 7.
Both those cars, of course, did very well in the free practice as well,
yep,
which we watched this morning. and some very fast times, in fact, set by that man, Thomas Laurent. And that's one name that everyone has been talking about at the Asian Le Mans Series, of course, Rookie of the Year. What you're looking at here is Team Fist AI's Ferrari 488 GTB. We'll be talking about that a lot this weekend because that is one of the cars they wanted to run out in Zhuhai. It is, of course, a supercar of supercars, and we're looking forward to a lot of results from that. And we've got a car out on track.
Here we are indeed. Clock is running. 15-minute session, of course. They're going to want to get out there as quickly as they possibly can. You'll watch the team here, the 37 car, and I'm sure that will be Peter Durrani. It is. And you spotting from the timing and scoring sheets earlier, Shivan, that's not a million miles away from the overall
Well, that's right.
lap record pace in LMP2, less than a second.
I think, yeah, Pipo Derani was coming in this morning at 9 o'clock. Of course, it was very early in the morning for the cars to go out. But 132, 338 and
1:31.529. Sam Berg's lap record time in this sort of car. And in fact, bizarrely, it's that car. It's the same car. It was in G-Drive colours in the WEC 2 years ago. Now with Team BBT, Pipo Derani at the wheel, a man who knows after winning these cars. He's the Daytona 24 Hours and Sebring 12 Hours winning driver over in the United States, and now doing what he can in a very familiar beast.
very, very fast indeed. 1:31.529, just 1 second off then for Pipo Derani, and that was in free practice. Let's see if that can be broken. That is the track record. October 10th, 2015 was then went
out on that race. Now a Ferrari factory driver. Now we're looking at the number 6 car. It's another Jackie Chan DC racing car. This is a little Ligier JSP3, and this is Patrick Byrne and
Guy Cosworth
will
going to be driving this.
Sure out for qualifying. He's the professional driver, and indeed it is. Had some problems in free practice, but it was pretty bulletproof in free practice too. Going well.
Well, we're getting some times coming in now already. Of course, remember, these are, let's call them the cold laps. This is, essentially, making 1 or 2 out laps to get these teams up to speed. So 1:42, 1:37 is what we've seen. In fact, 1:35 from Thomas Laurent, who's out in the number 8 Jackie Chan DC Racing LMP2. And that already for his outlap is pretty fast.
It is. He's in fact going purple sectors, unsurprisingly for Thomas Laurent. This is going to be, I think, in the early stages of this at least, it's going to be Thomas Laurent, Jasmine Jaffar. We'll talk about Jasmine in just a few moments. So and Pipo Derani are the big name drivers in LMP2 out there. Rick Broikers is out there too. He's also another quick man. Richard Bradley in LMP3 is one to watch. So is Guy Cosmo. James Winslow in the number 65 Viper Nisa Racing team.
Josh Burden, of course, the winner of the LMP3 category in Zhuhai. He's out there as well.
Don't bet against a pole position time from Josh. He was very impressive indeed. This is the number 7 car in the hands of Malaysian driver. I can see you cheering, and you've got your Malaysian team vest on there, Japan. It's great to see him here. I believe Jasmine will be in that car for the remainder of the season.
Not yet, just at
1:32.605, getting close to the times that we saw
very fast
morning's 90-minute session. So they're getting down to those times very quickly. So it's the Jackie Chan DC Racing cars, the first 2 to complete a lap. Pipo Derani has pitted the car, 37, not completing a flying lap yet. So adjustments likely to be made there.
Just a bit more on Jasmine Jaffar, as you rightly said. Being a Malaysian journalist, I have followed his career for a while. He's been in everything, Formula 4, Formula 3. This is a step up, of course, to LMP2. These cars are rockets on wheels. Now, Jasmine is sitting in for Ho Bin Tung. Ho Bin Tung has a conflict this weekend and therefore isn't going to be partnering up with David Cheng. So this is actually not just a step up into the car, but it's also a very prestigious drive to get next to David Cheng in this headline creating Jackie Chan DC Racing team.
And you know what? This is a horrible set of circumstances to introduce yourself to this kind of car, freezing cold.
At Fuji.
Presses, he'd been within a second, and some very experienced guys in these cars. Aboard here, though, with Thomas Laurent, he has gone already purple last 1:32.605. He's going to go quicker again. He's at least a tenth of a second up on that previous best of a 1:32.605. That's something over half a second quicker than the team car from Jasmine Jaffar. Josh Burton goes 3rd quickest in the fastest of the LMP3 cars. That's a 1:37.557. And coming down now under the second gantry as there's a screech of brakes and tyres from one of the cars into turn 1.
Unsurprising at turn 1.
It's a 1:32.259 now, so that is quicker than the cars went this morning. It's not quite lap record pace yet. That lap record, of course, will be a race lap record rather than qualifying lap record, but it's a good barometer for the kind of
benchmark. Yeah.
Cars. That's exactly the word.
The exact word, mate.
But we are under 10 minutes left of this session.
Well, Thomas, what can you say about Thomas Laurent? Of course, the World Endurance Championship, which Graham has been watching and commentating on all year, finished a couple of weeks ago, and that was immediately followed by the awards ceremony where Thomas Laurent picked up Rookie of the Year. There's just no more accolades that you could put onto this 19-year-old driver that is sitting around.
Nobel Prize for Physics is still up for grabs. I don't think he's in the running for that, but he has been a phenomenon. This, though, is Jasmine Jafar in the sister car, looking to keep on to terms. That's a good lap from Jasmine last time around, a 1:33 dead, 1:33.032. So he's under a second back from Thomas Laurent, who's been driving in LMP cars for the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Jasmine Jafar done a lot in, as you quite rightly said, some of the junior.
Well, pretty much every class, yeah.
And in GT cars, but this is a very different kettle of fish. A lot more downforce, a lot more available power. But they're trying to squeeze everything they possibly can out of this package, as that was Jasmine just trying to home down on the TKS Ginetta. And we'll have a look at where that is in the timing and scoring in just a moment. Shinyo Sano.
Now this is the Viper Nisa Racing Team. Now the Viper Nisa Racing Team, under the guidance of James Winslow, under the driving, I should say, of James Winslow at the moment, had a few troubles in free practice, had a few troubles in Zhuhai as well. In fact, it was at turn 1, so it's good to see them up there, currently in 3rd spot in terms of qualifying, 1:36.683. But that just again goes to show exactly how fast Thomas Laurent is actually coming up.
Indeed, and James Winslow, obviously, I think we can take some credit for the fact he's actually put that car into provisional pole in LMP3. I think that the tips he got from doing some of that commentary in Zhuhai just a few weeks ago, I'm going to claim that between you and I, G-Van, that provisional pole position. James Winslow, he's pretty good, but again, that's we gave him.
That was the 4th overall. He is, of course, topping the LMP3 class.
6.83, so just 7 thousandths of a second ahead of the LMP2 car of Rick Broikers, the number 4 ARC Bratislava car. You can see this, it looks to me as if the P3 cars are finding the grip, the available grip, quicker than some of the midfield P2 guys. Up into 3rd place overall, by the way, Pipo Derani back aboard the BBT car. So that's gone quicker. It's a 1:33.560. So we've got LMP2 cars, 1, 2, 3, 4. The ones out of position just now, ALC Bratislava down in 6th. And looking for Algot Pro at the bottom of the timing and scoring at the moment. At a Zhong in a 1:48.913. That car has not been close to the kind of pace we'd expected from it.
And of course the TKS, the only Japanese entrant team here up at Fuji. Well, Shinyo Sanyo is behind the wheel of that Ginetta LMP3, another car that's had a few problems, but they're currently lapping 1:41.797 in 11th in overall.
Yep, Marco Asper coming through Panasonic, getting the power down and finding out where the grip wasn't there for just a moment. But he's completed that lap. It's a 1:33.808. He does improve despite that little moment on the exit of turn 16.
There is that TKS, yeah.
Little Yorkshire built Ginetta. Does your heart good, doesn't it? Yorkshire, fueled by, well,
shouldn't it have been British Racing Green? It should have been.
Fueled by drizzle and grimness in Yorkshire, but that is a pretty car. Great to see it back in the championship. The team owned 3 of these cars, were in the hands of ARC Bratislava last year, came very close indeed to the title. Shinyo Sano has been a key part of this effort, reigning champions in GT Cup, of course. Under 6 minutes to go now.
Now, one of the big stories, of course, the current champions, Algarve Pro Racing, also in LMP2, right now 12th overall, 1:43.044.
Absolutely. So in LMP3, looking for the opportunity to climb up the order in the car. It's had some electrical niggles throughout the week so far. Session being led by the number 8 Jackie Chan DC Racing car, and the just up into the 2nd position overall with an improved time, 1:32.316. has gone to Team BBT. There it is.
There it is, that number 37 car.
But Durrani is pressurising the overall lead here. It is under a tenth of a second now is the gap between the provisional pole position car of Thomas Laurent. We're going to see him, I think, have another bit of a crack at this. Pipo Derani improves, in fact matches his best efforts in Sector 1 to the 1,000th there, but hits a bit of traffic. This will not be an improvement this time around. So Pipo Derani putting a claim into a front row spot. What can the number 7 Jackie Chan DC Racing by Jota Car, Jasmine Jafar, do about that? He's about 3/10 down on Durrani's best at the moment. He too is not going to improve on this lap, but there is still time for an improvement. So 1, 2, 3, 4 in the order 8, 37, 7 and 33, all LMP2 cars. Then we go to Josh Burton with the best of the LMP3 times. Rick Broikers looking to see what he can to get ahead of the LMP3 pole sitter on the grid rather than having to deal with it at race start tomorrow.
And this, of course, is echoing a little bit of the qualifying session we saw at Zhuhai when both Jackie Chan DC Racing cars were up at the front and the LMP2s with the BBT behind them as well. This time, of course, as you said, Pipo Derani has got himself in between those cars. And it's fantastic performance, not just from the Brazilian, 24 years old, but from BBT as well as a team.
Absolutely. So Jackie Chan DC Racing looking to do what they can to claim the number 8 car. That, I think, will be the session. In fact, both of the cars bail out into the pits. So the number 7 car is not going to improve. Number 18 car, meanwhile, making its way at very high speed down that start-finish straight, G-Van.
That drag strip.
Pole position car in P3.
KCMG. This car did so well in round 1 in China under the steering of Josh Burton. He's behind the wheel here. That JS P8 P3 135.683 is his best so far, and is definitely closing in on the ranks. But as you said, he's fast enough to actually break up. He's ahead right now overall, ahead of Rick Broikers in that ARC Bratislava car.
Almost a full second to the good in class. This is what the form we expected from Josh after seeing what he could do in Zhuhai just a few weeks ago. We heard already that one of the other cars that could have been, we thought, might be in contention for pole position here, that the Win Motorsport guys were concentrating on race setup, less worried about 1 lap pace, more worried about 4-hour pace, and that might prove to be a very sensible move as things come down.
As we saw in round 1, it is a completely different strategy between qualifying, unlike other motorsport classes. In fact, completely different strategy between qualifying and race day, because race day, of course, is 4 hours.
Should say there's a big slide there by Josh. Brings it in beautifully, like a wild horse being broken in this little Ligier.
Well, that's a great shot uphill there, you can just see.
That's where, again, there's just a pause to your grip as you get the power down. If you're going across to that curb, you just have to be aware of that. It's another quick time, by the way, for Pipo Derani. Still stays second, though. Not an improvement, but within a tenth of a second of his best. But he's going quicker this time. He's going for pole on this lap.
It's quite interesting to see. Sector 1, of course, turns 1, 2, 3. Sector 2 would be turns 3 through to turns 9. And turn 10 to turn 16. And the line, of course, is Sector 3. And that first is at BBT, as we see from Pipo Derani, currently with the fastest Sector 1 time, 20.669 seconds.
Yeah, but he's lost a little bit of time getting by the number 6 car in Sector 2. Not a lot, but he's got time to make up in this final sector of the lap. But pole position is within his grasp, and he could get to go around again if he's got the tyres underneath the car.
Time is running out, though, Graham.
It is just 1.5 minutes. He's got time to complete the lap and start another flyer if that's within the grasp of the package underneath him. This is the car being launched back down now. That start-finish straight. Pipo Derani, he's won at Daytona, he's won at Sebring. He would love to put this car on the first pole position for Team BBT of this season. Being launched back down now. That start-finish straight. Pipo Derani, he's won at Daytona, he's won at Sebring. He would love to put this car on the first pole position for 2:16, the best time so far for the car. And he doesn't. He's just outside.
Just outside.
That was it was the second coming into the third sector that did the damage. Quicker in the first sector. Is he going to stay on the power? We're going to see very shortly. It's about a 20-second first sector, and we'll soon see whether or not this is anywhere close to being. It's the fastest first sector of the session.
20.585.
He's a tenth up on his best time, and that would be enough to put this car on pole position if he just matched his best sector times, and I don't think he had traffic ahead.
I think he's got a clear track, yeah.
He has. Now this could be very interesting indeed. It's a short second sector for Pipo Derani, around 30 seconds, so we'll soon see whether or not this is within grasp. Can Team BBT go for it? Meantime, by the way, the number 8 car is out again and will be on a fly with Thomas Laurent. They're trying to respond. They're a little off the lap time of Team BBT. It's gone purple again in the second sector. 37. There he goes. He's using all the track and a teeny weeny bit more. He's coming now round 2 Panasonic to the end of this lap, using all the width of the track, all the grip. Pipo Derani, this could be a bit of a go for glory. Can Thomas Laurent, meanwhile, who's on track as well and going quickly, can he respond? He's not as quick as Derani on this. Down he comes. The clock has run down. This will be the final opportunity for Team BBT. What can he pull out the bag? 132.316, the best for him. 132.259. It's a 132.1.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic finish from Pipo Derani on the final lap of qualifying in this 15-minute session for the LMP2 and LMP3s in this second round of the Asian Le Mans Series. What a finish. 20.585 in Sector 1, 27.520 in Sector 2, and a 132.102, which once again is not that far off the lap record for the entire track.
And it's freezing cold. We shouldn't forget that. That is a major, major factor. That was talent in a box there from Pipo Derani. Cracking lap from him.
159.
It looked done there for the Jackie Chan DC Racing team. Thomas Laurent was sent to try to respond to that. It was just a little too late. So they will still be on the front row of the grid. There's Davide Rizzo. Thumbs up from him. The team are delighted with that. But it will be Team BBT taking their first ever LMP2 pole position. That'll be utter delight for the entire squad, and none more so than Anthony Liu. And there's the Marta Ferrari there in the black jacket, not with the Italian stripes, but the other black jacket. Marta Ferrari, the AF Corsa team principal, his team handling this effort. That's the biggest headline so far for this team in LMP2.
Very, very happy with that one. And
shouldn't forget, by the way, LMP3 meanwhile.
Josh Burton and KCMG, that number 18 car that was doing so well so far this season, has already topped the session there with a 135.255. He'll be followed by Ye Hong Lee in the Taiwan Beer GH Motorsport team.
And actually, that we were talking about Rick Roykers trying to get ahead of Josh Burton on the overall timing and scoring. In fact, it went the other way. Josh pulled away a little, and at the end, his advantage over Ye Hong Lee in the Taiwan Beer GH Motorsport 11 was over a second. A great run as well there from Josh, his second consecutive pole position. But the story
is in that car, that orange and yellow BBT. Ligier JSP2 has absolutely put in the most flying sector times, the most flying lap.
It's a car that knows its way around here. It's raced it before in the World Endurance Championship.
As you said, this was actually the car that set the lap record at Fuji.
And it's also a team that Pipo Derani knows well. Pipo knows how to win. He knows how to put cars on pole position. But it does the heart good to see a team doing what this series is designed to do and step up through the order. They stepped up to LMP2 this season, and they've produced the guts here today. That's a cracking run from Team BBT.
Now, I'm assuming psychologically, of course, that's got to be a massive blow or massive boost for Team BBT, but also for Jackie Chan DC Racing. They were expecting it. Thomas Laurent was very fast at the first half of that session, and so, in fact, was Jasmine Jafal.
I think this is very clear. They thought they'd done enough. They were wrong, and it's this man, Pipo Derani, Brazilian driver, Jose Felipe Derani.
Has to say, though, a little bit harsh in being wrong, because it was the last stretch in the last second on the home straight that did it.
But we saw it. Jackie Chan DC Racing tried to respond to that.
Right.
Thomas Laurent, but just a little too late, and he couldn't produce that first lap pace, and that was the disadvantage he had. He was going out, as we heard earlier, on relatively cold tyres. As soon as that car stops rolling, you're going to start to lose the heat in those tyres, and there's not enough time to get the tyres back into a tyre oven and make a big difference. So the difference in lap time will have been, you had not quite literally on fire Pipo Derani against Thomas Laurent, having to remotivate himself, refocus, and find what grip he could. Great session there from BBT, and Josh Burton as well, a cracking run from Josh Burden's two
just to
pole setters.
Just to go through them, I said Pipo Derani, BBT in the LMP2 class up front, both the Jackie Chan DC Racing Orica 05s after that in second and third. Eurasia Motorsport in fourth with Marco Asma. That was a good time, 1:33.610. And then after that would be ARC Bratislava. This is the LMP2 class, of course, from Rick Breukers. And Algarve Pro Racing in the end never really got started in that qualifying session with a 1:42.363. They're going to be starting at the back of that class. Meanwhile, as you pointed out, KCMG again with another fantastic run in that Ligier GSP3. After them in second spot in the LMP3 class would be Taiwan Beer GH Motorsport. Win Motorsport with Richard Bradley behind the wheel in third. Viper Nisa Racing with James Winslow in fourth. Jackie Chan's Guy Cosmo in fifth. And TKS Shinyo Sanyo with the Ginetta LMP3 in sixth. Very, very good session indeed, and if you had to break it down, as you said, it was that Sector 1 in the end that really did make the difference, but not many of these drivers faced too much traffic.
No, and to put a cap on that lap, it was two purple sectors, Sectors 1 and Sector 2, almost a tenth of a second in both for Pipo Derani. That's why he sits there at the top of the list. He lost about a tenth in Sector 3, but just needed that single tenth to actually overhaul the Thomas Laurent pedalled Orica 05, the number 8 car from Jackie Chan DC Racing. Well, it's going to be the GT session in just a few minutes' time.
That's right, just over 5 minutes. That'll be starting up. The GT cars will be out on track. That's going to be interesting to see exactly whether there's going to be just as close competition as we've seen in the LMP2 and LMP3. But of course, as we were talking about earlier, there is going to be a different strategy for the race itself. Pole position is great. There is the psychological difference as well. And of course, this means that for BBT that their car is working absolutely perfectly. What you're seeing is those cars, that's Josh Burden's KCMG, all in Parc Fermé, all off for scrutineering, as you'd expect from race control. Very strict regulations. And in terms of race limits, in terms of cars staying on the black stuff, was everybody on point there?
We had a couple of laps that were removed. The number 11 car lost a lap. I think I saw the number 65 car being pinged as well, but it was relatively clean and tidy. Not a lot for the race control to do. But we're going to be taking a look back at the highlights from qualifying, and there were plenty there, weren't there? Freezing cold track, there it is. It looked a little frigid around the mountains, doesn't it? We've not seen Fuji-san in several days, and it's all.
It's an epic track, though.
It's a fabulous track. The first out of the blocks was indeed the number 37 Team BBT, Ligier, with Pipo Derani at the wheel.
Under the guidance of closing in on the ranks, but as you said, he's fast enough to actually break up. He's ahead right now overall, ahead of Rick
BBT. There it is.
There it is, that number 37 car.
Pipo Derani is pressurising the overall lead here. It is under, and there is flaming from both sides there. The Nissan V8 aboard the Algarve Pro, the number 25 car, but the 37 is pushing hard. But it was going to be the story at the end of this session with Pipo Derani and that fabulous-looking Team BBT car versus Thomas Laurent in the equally pretty number 8. 132.316 the best for him, 132.259. It's a 132.1.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic finish from Pipo Derani on the final lap of. Well, that really was right at the end of the session to win that. Pole position is going to mean a lot for the young Brazilian, and as you can see there, the GT classes getting ready for their qualifying session. That's going to be happening in just a bit, and there is that beautiful Graham Ferrari 488 GTB, the first time we're seeing it in the Asian Le Mans Series this year.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Indeed it is, and it's going to be interesting to see just how that one plans out. They have been winding their way into this.
And we're going to be going down to the pits right now. Nadia has Pipo Derani, the young Brazilian that has claimed pole position. Let's hear from him.
Yes, the man of the hour, Pipo Derani. So you clocked in fastest lap, but that was the last minute cut there. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you know, it was tight at the end. We tried to do a different strategy to go out on used tires and bring up the temperature and then stop for the new tires, but it was really short, you know, the laps I had in the end to bring the temperature of the tires up as it's really cold. I made one mistake and then I got traffic in the other lap, and then in the last minute we saw ourselves with one lap to go and still not on pole. But everything worked perfectly. We managed to get pole on the last lap. But I just want to thank my team. You know, it's the first time we're racing together. Now, obviously, only our second race together, and what a fantastic job they've done. My engineer Gabriele and the entire team. It's doing a great job. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. Our first pole together, and I'm looking forward for the race tomorrow.
A great way to be starting off tomorrow. This was 15 minutes. Repeating that 4 hours tomorrow. How big of a difference does that make?
There is a lot of difference, you know. Endurance racing is not only about putting fast lap. It's about being constantly fast and sometimes even avoiding mistakes and problems. So I think we've got a good car. We've got a great team. I think we have a very reliable package. So I hope that we can bring this car all the way to the end of the race. No mistakes, and we'll see where we finish.
All the best tomorrow, and congratulations on the pole position today. So that was Pippo Durrani. Back up to the commentary box.
Well, thanks. It is, as Pippo says, a new team. He's seen major success with established teams, but there's something about those milestones, Jivan, with a new team coming together that means so very much about motivating the guys to push forward.
Well, I do have to say one thing, and just to inform you, the pit lane is now open for the GT qualifying. We'll be getting to that in a second, but what a down-to-earth 24-year-old Brazilian Pippo Durrani is.
He is a man, you know, wise way beyond his years, a very gentle soul as well. I've had some pretty deep conversations with young Pippo down through the years in the WC over the last couple of seasons, and one of the nicest guys in the paddock. Fabulous individual.
But he's also got that entire team ethic sorted out. One of the first people he thanked in that interview with Nadia just now was his team. It's great to, and also made that difference between qualifying and the main race. It's not just about putting in fast laps. It's not just about the setup. There's real teamwork that's going to be needed tomorrow between the three drivers, of course. In qualifying, you get to see the fastest drivers come out. In the race day, it is a combination of all three.
You know, he's absolutely right. You're spot on. This is a pure team sport, not just the compromise that has to be made between the 2 or 3 drivers, depending on how the guys have put these teams together, but also the way that you have to listen to the team management, the engineer, not to tell you how to drive the car, as you'll hear in some other forms of motorsport, but just feeding back the kind of information he needs to make the decisions when to push, how to push. And then when it comes to pit stop time, you know, this is not the kind of discipline in motorsport where you can throw 30 people at the car. There's a small number of guys in a kind of balletic form getting the job done, and it's a fabulous thing to watch, and all the teams do it differently. First out onto track in the GT session is the Jiangxi Racing team at the fabulous green
Massimiliano Visa, in fact.
Yeah, it's the operatic V10 in the back of this car.
I'm just in awe of your choice of words when it comes down to it, Graham. It's fantastic. But it's true. It's absolutely spot on.
It's the kind of thing, you know what, you'd go to a gig just to listen to that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. These are the best cars in the world in terms of road production cars, of course. And I think a lot of them, it's for a lot of people that are joining endurance racing for the first time, they're going to be thinking, how are these cars looking so slow compared to LMP2 and LMP3? A lot of differences, obviously, but these are still very, very fast.
Number one, lots of aerodynamics on that car. It doesn't compare to the kind of aerodynamics you can deploy with a prototype car, which means that they're the quicker through the turns. But what you'll see when we get to racing conditions tomorrow, in a straight line, you will see P2 cars going by these GT cars, but towards the end of the straight, you're going to see the GT cars catching them back up again. That's a glorious 5-litre V10 in the back of the Audi. It's just absolutely wonderful stuff. Jiangxi Racing team coming round to start their first lap. But let's go back down to pit lane. And the other pole sitter from that session, that's Josh Burton, young Australian, double pole sitter now in Asia Le Mans Series, down there with Nadia.
Yes, with Team KCMG now, Josh Burton, a familiar face. The last time you also made pole position, and again this time. How do you feel, and what do you think was it that made everything sail so smoothly?
I feel really happy. That's 2 poles in the first 2 rounds in ALMS for us. So I got to thank the KCMG team, my teammates. We worked hard coming to this event. We thought it could be our weakest track, considering what we usually try to do to set up the car. But we worked hard on it in practice and got it right for qualifying, and we got a healthy margin. So 4 hours again tomorrow. Hopefully we can replicate the round 1 result in China.
Hopefully. And talking about replicating whatever happened in China, however, the only difference is, I guess, the weather. That's a big difference. A change in strategy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's cold. I think it's hot. No jokes. I think it's the coldest I've ever been. We're going to go with probably a very similar strategy to China. This track's a little bit easier on tyres because the heat is really low and it is quite cold. It looks after things better. But yeah, we'll have a look at it tonight and see what we come out with tomorrow.
All the best tomorrow, and yes, a lot of talk about the weather and tyres. Back up to the commentary box.
Thanks a lot for that, Nadia. Josh Byrne, 25 years old, but really causing a bit of a stir, Graham, here after his win in round 1, and of course now pole here at Fuji in qualifying.
Indeed, coldest I've ever been. It's a thing that only Australia can say here, really. Tyres are going on both the FIS Team AI cars. They're playing this very cool indeed, already 5 minutes into the session.
Just about to say, yeah.
Meantime, it's like the only kid in the playground at the moment.
Yeah.
So round and round goes the Audi. Big power slide there coming through Panasonic to finish the lap. It's clearly purple sectors in both. This is the first flyer. Let's have a look at what the marker lap is going to be.
This is going to be the benchmark for the FIS Team AI, and that Ferrari 488 GTB is now leaving the pit lane. As you pointed out just on Friday when we were taking a pit walk, very interesting line in from the pit lane into that very fast corner, and as you just saw there, of course there was a lot of gap between the Ferrari and the Audi, but you've got to watch yourself coming out of this pit lane.
You do. You've got to keep right over to the right because the guys are going to be looking for where they can take the best line to hit the apex through that tricky turn 1. Now the key here is going to be, it's a 140 by the way, 140.2 for Massimiliano Visa in the Tianchi Racing Audi, and that is the Ferrari going straight off the circuit.
Oh, that is really
will do for you.
Yeah, and this of course is car first time out.
And that's the point I was about to make. It's Ollie Milroy is no, I don't think it is. It's going to be Marco Ciocci. My apologies, Italian driver and regular for the AF Corsa squad in a range of customer teams. Out comes the BMW 2 to play.
Jesse Krohn at the wheel here for the BMW M6 GT3.
Now our prediction here is that this is going to go very deep into the session indeed. This is a slow warming up lap for both of these cars. We've already seen the first quick lap from the Audi. That's not a competitive lap.
Yeah.
It's a good 2 or 3 seconds down on what we saw in free practice 2. So these cars are going to be getting quicker and quicker as they go. We saw Marco Ciocci just finding there was no grip there. That is just cold tyres.
Yeah.
We also know the first flyer with no other traffic wasn't quick. It's going to take at least 2 laps for these cars to be getting down to anything like a competitive lap time. Let's watch how that one goes.
And if you look at the clock, of course,
it's going to come the number 66 car for a second flying lap. There he goes. It's now 1:39, so that's better. We're going to be seeing how that one pans out in the next few minutes. But Tianchi Racing, they are making good their escape here and just basically laying down a marker for, well, Marco Ciocci and Jesse Krohn in the BMW M6 GT3 2 challenge.
Well, 3 laps now for the Tianchi Racing team, so those tyres probably warming up a little bit more. Still very cold, as you said. This the first laps for both the FIS Team AI entrants. Marco Ciocci, as Graham said, in the Ferrari 488, Jesse Krohn in the BMW M6 GT3. Now, one point we have to make about this GT class is very fast in a straight line, not enough dive planes at the front, a lot of aero, beautiful aero on this Ferrari 488, but going around the corners, as we saw from Marco in the early part, a little bit harder to control.
It's definitely the kind of car that you've usually got one line through some of the kind of the medium speeding quicker corners, and the interesting thing here is when they get onto track with that mixed class racing that I love so much. But here they've got wide open spaces. It is a matter that the better drivers, and we've got 3 of them out there at the moment, can pick their line. 1:39.027 is the mark for Marco Ciocci. He's been pretty quick, by the way, through the first sector, just a couple of tenths off and a tenth off again in the second sector for Marco Ciocci. It's not going to be a pole position lap, this one, but I think you're going to find the fiery Italian, and boy is he fiery, Marco Ciocci, winding himself up here. You're going to start to see the aggression coming into the body language of this car. So at the end of this lap, watch his line through the final turn. And my guess is it's going to be pedal to the metal here, finding all the grip and a little bit where there is none. It's pretty neat and tidy. Fires the car down the start finish straight now. It's twin turbo V8, beautiful thing. Great to see these cars, by the way, in something other than Ferrari red.
Well, yes, exactly. I mean, this is Ferrari's flagship car. This car was It's only really made its competitive debut last year, but then after that, I think it was at the Bathurst 12 Hours, it literally spent the entire 12 hours within the top 5. It is a very, very well-balanced car indeed, and it is the successor, shall we say, to what most motor enthusiasts thought was one of the finest supercars made, the Ferrari 458.
It's not quite got the drama of the soundtrack of the 458, but boy, this thing is nailed. You know, we've seen it in GTE format and GT3 format here, and it is actually the same car. You can take some bits off, you can put some bits on, and you can run them in just about every GT race that exists on the planet. Fabulous, fabulous stuff. We have got purple sectors everywhere. New
That's right, Jesse Krohn, BMW in the BMW has just been racing around 30.337 in Sector 2, 46.513 in Sector 3, which has led to his last lap of being the fastest so far, 1:38.699.
Okay, it's 3/10 quicker. Jesse Krohn and a couple of quick sectors. It's almost stealthy that. It just appeared out of nowhere. Oh, he's gone provisional pole. Marco Ciocci, meanwhile, goes purple in the first sector, green, which is quickest for that car, in the second sector. This is going to be very close indeed. At the moment, it's just under a second separates the trio.
And it's still Tianchi Racing Team with just 3 laps up, 5 laps competed for them now. FIS Team AI with both their BMW M6 and the Ferrari 48 on their 3rd lap essentially coming up. So these tyres are getting warmer, but of course these have both raced, well not the Ferrari, but of course the BMW has already had a very good run out in round 1.
And up to pole position, or a provisional pole position, so all 3 of them have held that spot because Marco Ciocci just extends the gap just a tiny little bit. It's just 0.05 of a second ahead of the top.
That is close.
Ferrari, so mid-rear engined twin-turbo V8. Ferrari takes the honours at the moment from front-engined BMW twin-turbo V8 M6 and rear mid-engined 5-litre Audi, and back to the top goes with a big leap forward from Jesse Krohn in this.
That's almost a second. It's over a second.
It is 0.8 of a second. It's 0.8 of a second up with Jesse Krohn. And you have to say, if you put these 2 cars alongside and didn't fire them up, you'd have to say the Ferrari looks the quicker.
Yeah.
Don't be deceived. This BMW, it may look a kind of taller car.
Yeah, it's big. It's definitely big.
Boy, that thing has got some ponies.
And of course, the Ferrari 488 GT3 replaces the Mercedes AMG that FIS Team AI ran in round 1. Of course, that was the long bonnet as well. Does that make a difference in terms of Fuji? I know they wanted to run the Ferrari 488 FIS Team AI in round 1. The car wasn't prepared yet. That's why they went with the AMG. But does the Ferrari 488 chassis fit a circuit like Fuji better?
The Ferrari 488, you'd have thought would suit this well. This is going to be pretty evenly matched here. I'm just watching the sector times. Marco Ciocci much quicker in sector 1 than Jesse Krohn, but Jesse Krohn much quicker in sector 2. 1:38.009, so it's under 0.2 of a second now is the gap between the top 2 cars. The Tianchi Racing Team, by the way, have not given this one up either. They're going quicker this time around in sector 1 as well. In fact, quicker than the BMW was last time around. This could be mighty, mighty close. At the moment, it's got a reasonable lead, the BMW with the 3rd placed Audi, but not a lot to spare, and I think that's enough.
Not at all. We're just
BMW is bailing out the session. Marco Ciocci, though, may not be done quite yet.
just 2 seconds between these 3 cars in the GT class. 137.861, 138.009, 139.050, and that's the 2 FIS Team AIs, the BMW M6 and Ferrari 488, followed by the Audi R8 LMS. Now, don't forget that the FIS Team AI cars, they did almost have a bit of a, so we say, sojourn in the pit lane before they went out. At least 5 minutes of the qualifying session, they sat. They took very slow laps to warm up those tires. Tianchi Racing went out almost immediately, have put in 2 more laps, but this FIS Team AI team are really showing their quality again.
It's a team that knows how to run these cars. They've run them all around the world, and they continue to do so. And They know how to play the strategy. They know how to squeeze the best out of these packages. This, though, is a new car for them in race conditions, the 488.
Well, unsurprisingly, we did actually watch that, but that Ferrari 488 is going to be under investigation for abuse of track limits. I think that was, as I said, it wasn't intentional, really.
Well, is this going to be a similar session to that which we saw in the LMP session just a few minutes ago? Marco Ciocci goes around again. This will be, and in fact it has lost that last lap, this will be the final flying lap for this car.
Just to reiterate, when it comes down to qualifying, of course, if track limits have been thought to be abused, and in this case for the Ferrari 488 by Marco Ciocci they have, then that specific lap will be deleted by race control and any, of course, time with it. So
absolutely. Now, interestingly, Marco Ciocci through the final sector, launching himself down to this lap, was the fastest of all in sector 3. What can he do? He's a 10th down though on his best in sector 1. And I think the Audi has given up this one.
Well, it certainly looks that way.
2 seconds down on the pole position time.
Everybody in the pit lane is just glued to those screens as they watch this Audi R8 LMS make its way round. This is but guaranteed going to be the final lap for the GT qualifying. As you can see, the time rapidly running down as you get into the last sector of the course.
He's not going to have time to go around again here, so this is not going to be good enough. I think you're going to see this car bailing out. The guys will be able to see the delta time on the steering wheel, so I think you should see the Audi. It does indeed move to the right, and that's not going to be an improvement either for Marco Ciocci. He's again seen that data. He's seen that he cannot recover the time he's lost in sector 1. He's off the pace in sector 2. That is going to be it. He's going to be FIS Team AI 1-2. Jesse Krohn owning pole position in the GT class in the BMW M6. Reasonably tight with the team's newer car. Well, that will only get quicker, I'm sure, as the race season goes on.
So 137.861 in the end for the BMW M6 GT3, 138.055 for the Ferrari 488 GT3, and 139.021 for the Audi R8 LMS. That is going to bring to a close GT qualifying on Saturday.
All good stuff. So 3 cars to the max there. Team still finding out what these packages will do.
And of course, because being qualifying, we still haven't seen the likes of Chaz Mostert, Junsen Chen, Lam Yu, Ollie Milroy. None of them made an appearance. We'll be seeing them, of course, tomorrow on race day.
And, so that brings to a halt the qualifying action for this afternoon. Just to remind you, there'll be live coverage on a range of platforms, broadcast stations as well.
For the first time.
The social media sites for the championship, YouTube and Facebook, and on the series website as well.
It was good to see all those cars at least coming through without incident. Good to see 2 15-minute qualifying sessions for LMP2 and MP3 on this, well, difficult, should we say, challenging track. The weather held up for a start, and on top of that, a couple of people did make it off the black stuff and really kind of rode a couple of corners. But apart from that, all the team's going to be kind of happy with that.
It said so. Coming out unscathed is the first job. Coming out on pole position is the second job. There could only be 3 winners of that. Interesting to see just exactly what made the difference there for the BMW M6 over the team car, the Ferrari. Well, we're going to get to find out, because Nadia is down there now with new pole position sitter Jesse Krohn from FIS Team AAI.
With the man himself who recorded the fastest lap, Jesse Krohn is here with me. So how do you feel after doing that fantastic lap?
Oh, it's good. Our weekend started with a bit of bad luck, so we missed one practice session completely. So we were sort of one step behind our competitors, but we managed to catch up quickly, and I got a good lap in the qualifying.
So you said you missed one practice round altogether. So was it just a very good driver behind the wheels?
I would like to believe so, no, but the team gave me a great car, so it's always with a good equipment, it's easy to do a good job.
So pole position, a great way to start tomorrow. How are you looking forward to that? 4 hours.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I know I have strong teammates. I've got the Aussie V8 superstar again, who I share the car with. So I think it's going to be a good race, and we just have to keep ourselves clean and do the job we can do.
Looking forward to tomorrow. Thank you so much, Jesse Krohn, and back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Nadia. And well, It's been a very cold day, but that warmed me up beautifully with two 15-minute sessions where there was plenty of action to watch and plenty of action to talk about. And the LMP first, and now the GT session.
Let's have a little look back.
With in these cold conditions, it was the LMP cars out first, with the Team BBT car the first to move. And that would prove to be significant.
Basically, under the guidance of
6:05, getting close to the Chinese racing car, then the 8 car showed with Thomas Laurent, and the 18 of Josh Burton putting down the times to be challenged by anybody else in LMP2 and LMP3. Pipo Derani took up the challenge and ran with it, and that would prove to be significant later. Jasmine Jafar making a great debut in the Asian Le Mans Series in the LMP2 number 7 car. Algarve Pros 25. But at the end of the session, and it was the very end of the session, with the Jackie Chan DC racing cars on pit lane and responding late to the apparent challenge, it was all about the Brazilian racer Pipo Derani. A blistering run from him in his very final lap of the session. Clock had run down and he snatched it. Wonderful stuff. That's what it meant to that team. Great to see the emotion of the team. Then we got into GT qualifying. The Samurai sword was thrown down by the Tianchi racing team, but unfortunately for them, the FIS Team AAI launched a pair of Exocet missiles in response. The Ferrari of Marco Giocci and the very different looking BMW M6 of Hesse Krohn. Josh Burton, by the way, in the KCMG car did take that pole position, couldn't be challenged. Tianchi Racing, it was eventually though Hesse Krohn that took the pole position for FIS Team AAI. Brilliant display from that team.
Well, that was really absolutely fantastic. Great qualifying session for all 3 classes and some very fast times. And as you said, Graham, it has come down to the wire, both for LMP2 and in the GT class as well. And a fantastic performance from Josh Byrne we got to hear from.
Absolutely. And I think what this shows is really competitive right down through the field in all 3 classes. Sets up something potentially really special. You know what? Weather conditions, changeable weather conditions, just show us something different from these cars, and it will mean a different sort of action, particularly in the early start of the race and particularly in the early start of every time these guys have to change the tyres.
Well, that is going to be a fantastic race tomorrow for sure, and Graham and myself will be in the commentary box for all of it. Right now, it's back to Nadia.
Thank you very much, Jeevan and Graham. So this is it from the qualifying sessions. All the best to the pole sitters tomorrow and all to the other races as well. And it's going to be a great race day tomorrow. And I'm sure you guys don't want to miss out on that. So make sure you catch us live. Full coverage will be on facebook.com/AsianLMS. Also on the official website, www.asianlemonseries.com. And also on motorsport.tv, Motor Trend on demand. Now, if you want Chinese commentary, it'll be also live on Tencent Network. And since we are in Fuji, Japan, you can catch it live on J Sports. So that is it from us here at Fuji International Speedway. I will catch you tomorrow for 4 hours of Fuji. Till then, goodbye.